Hey there, and welcome back to Common Knowledge, the show where I take a look at 10 common Magic the Gathering cards, and then I'll tell you if they're any good in the Pauper format or not. Let's see what our first card is for episode 190. That's a ridiculous amount of cards. It is Frenzy Sliver from Future Sight. Look at that beautiful border. Look at that great art. So cool. Frenzy Sliver is 1 and a black for a 1/1 Sliver creature, and all Sliver creatures have Frenzy 1, both yours and your opponent's. What is Frenzy 1? Well, it's kind of only in Future Sight. I'm pretty sure. We can take a quick look, but I'm pretty positive it only really shows up in... Yeah, okay. So there is an uncard with Frenzy. These cards don't have... They just have Frenzy in the name, or Death Frenzy here. But Frenzy itself is only really on this card. What is Frenzy, though? All Sliver creatures have Frenzy 1. Whenever a Sliver attacks and isn't blocked, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. That's okay. So it's a little bit like bizarro flanking. Flanking happens when your creature gets blocked, so this is something that happens when your creature doesn't get blocked. I guess it doesn't pair well with ninjutsu very well, because then you'd lose out on the power if you try to ninjutsu something out. But you don't have to worry. This is a Sliver, so it could only possibly go in one deck in Pauper, and that is Slivers. Slivers doesn't generally play black. It's mostly Selesnya, sometimes even just mono green. Yeah, I think sometimes even just mono green. But Selesnya is generally where Slivers lives. And then you'll find ways, if you're playing the Gemhide Sliver that can turn all your Slivers into Birds of Paradise, then you can splash in some of the Slivers that give all of them flying or give all of them trample or whatever. I don't know if Frenzy's good enough to warrant being a one-of in your Slivers deck, even in a sideboard thing. Just not really. Your Slivers are going to be fine. They're already going to be huge with the Muscle Slivers and the Sinew Slivers. I don't think there's really a reason to give them all Frenzy 1. I don't think that does a whole lot. It is kind of cool if you were able to play multiple copies of this guy. Now all your Slivers are getting big power boosts if they go unblocked. That's interesting, but I don't know if it's quite good enough. It is in the cool Future Sight frame. If you want a non-Future Sight frame, it does have this version that's a buck that's only in foil. I'd rather just want this one, but yeah, this is a cool Sliver, but not something that you're gonna play in the Slivers deck. And if it doesn't go there, it doesn't really go anywhere. Yes, it works with changelings, but you're not gonna do that. Let's go for a... I'm going to give it like a 2.3. I think it's pretty bad generally. 2 mana for a 1/1 creature. Nah, I already don't love that, and we just talked about the Slivers deck, so I don't think this has a whole lot of value in the Pauper format, unless we got like a ton of really good black Slivers that would change the entire Pauper Slivers deck, which is already not the best deck in the format. But you would have to get a really big influx of black Slivers that were really good to change which colors you play in Slivers. And even then, I don't know if this would show up in that deck. Let's see our next card. Owlin Historian from Secrets of Strixhaven. This is a pretty new card. 2 and a white for a 2/3 bird cleric with flying. When this creature enters, you surveil 1. And whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That's a pretty normal little card there. 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer is fine. It's not a great value, but it's fine. The Surveil 1, when it comes into play, is kind of nothing. I mean, it's something that could potentially put a card in your graveyard, which could then get its secondary effect, and so you understand why it has it. It's just not an amazing ability. And then whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It'd be really nice if that was a counter, but it's not. So I'm not super jazzed about it. I think we can go with a 2.4. Yeah, let's go with a 2.4. It is legal in every format, which is always fun when you get a full green card. But I don't think the card is all that great. Next up is Carbonize. Great name. 2 and a red for an instant. Carbonize deals 3 damage to any target. If it's a creature, it can't be regenerated this turn, and if it would die this turn, you exile it instead. Originally from Scourge. Oh, look at that Scourge art. That's great. This is fine. It actually reminds me a lot of a Kamigawa card, Yamabushi's Flame, which deals 3 damage to a creature or player. If a creature was dealt damage, would die, exile it instead. That is pretty much just exactly this, except the creature also can't be regenerated. So Carbonize is better, but regeneration isn't all that relevant. There are some things that have regenerate in the Pauper format, but it's not something that comes up a lot. 3 mana for 3 damage is not good enough. That's just not a good enough rate for red. We have Lightning Bolt, and sure, this thing can exile, but it's no Lightning Bolt. We also have something like Suplex, which is sorcery speed, not instant speed, but we do have, it deals for 2 mana, it deals 3 damage, and if the creature dies, you exile it. Now, this can only deal damage to the creature, it can't go face, but it also has the exile target artifact. Suplex gets played in some sideboards, maybe even in some main boards, but mostly sideboards. Carbonize is just too expensive. It's cool. I like it. I especially like this Scourge art, but it's not good enough for the Pauper format. I will go ahead and give this a 2.5. We're getting better. We started with 2.3, then a 2.4, and now 2.5. Maybe this will be a 2.6. What's our next card? Statute of Denial, 2 and double blue for an instant counter target spell. If you control a blue creature, draw a card, then discard a card. Yeah, maybe this could get a 2.6. Let's see. It's a 4 mana counter spell, so it's already worse than cancel in that way. But it does have this extra text that if you control a blue creature, which is doable, blue decks, even if you don't want to play a lot of creatures in your blue decks, you can still play the hard evidence and get that 0/3 crab token, which counts as a blue creature. There are ways of getting blue creatures on the board. There's certainly fairies and other things like that, Tolarian Terror and Delver of Secrets. They're blue creatures that get played in Pauper. Utrom Monitor and Affinity. But the question is a counter spell with a loot effect good enough? And here's the other thing, is that we have this. Don't we have this in Foundations? Isn't that just Refute? Yeah. This is just the cancel counter target spell, draw a card, then discard a card. It's this, but it has none of the drawbacks. Oh, not a drawback, but it has none of the conditions of needing to control a blue creature. So wouldn't you just play Refute? And we don't even play Refute. Refute's a good card, though. Not necessarily for Pauper, but it is just like a generally good card. I like Refute. Yeah. I like this art of Refute specifically. But Refute's a good card. I'd give that a halfway decent score. I can't give Statute of Denial a good score. I was thinking 2.6, but no. When you have another card that just dog walks it like that, and we already have a ton of other counter spells that are way better than this. No, this is going down to like a 2.2, which is really, really low for a counter spell. Because even expensive counter spells are counter spells, so they have to be pretty good. But this one, I think, is uniquely bad in its mana cost and in its conditioning, and no 2.2. Sam's Desperate Rescue is a single black mana for a sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and the ring tempts you. It is a strictly better raise dead. The ring tempting you. Have we done the ring tempting you on the channel before? I'm not sure that we have. Let's take a look at the ring just to see. So when the ring tempts you, yeah, I want to read it for real. So let's turn it over here. Yeah. As the ring tempts you, you get an emblem named the Ring. If you don't have one, then your emblem gains its next ability, and you choose a creature you control to become or remain your ring bearer. So one of your creatures becomes or still is your ring bearer which depends on how many times the ring has tempted you. Now, there are a few different things here. The ring can tempt you even if you don't control a creature, so you don't have to have a ring bearer to have the ring tempt you. The ring gains its abilities in order from top to bottom. We're going to read the abilities here in a second. Once it gains an ability, it has that ability for the rest of the game, which means it continues to stack. Like it's you get the first ability, and then when you get to the second ability, now you have the first and second. It's not that it moves between the abilities, you keep gaining the abilities as you go on. Each time the ring tempts you, you must choose a creature if you control one, and then you can't choose to not have a ring bearer if you do have a creature out. And then each player can only have one emblem named the ring and only one ring bearer at a time. Makes sense. There's only one ring. Okay. What does the ring do? Well, the first time the ring tempts you, your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Okay. That's fine. You can kind of get a skulk ability there. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, you draw a card and then discard a card. That's the second time the ring tempts you, so you get a loot effect there every time you attack, which is fine. Whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at the end of combat, is the third temptation. And that one's not too bad. Now you're really making it tough for the opponent to block this thing profitably. And then the last one is whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. So now you are punishing the opponent for not blocking it, but it's going to be very difficult for them if they do block it. The ring is fine. As somebody who went to Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, who went to that pre-release, the ring wasn't that big of a deal. I had a Is It Bilbo deck. I got a Bilbo that was pretty good, and it used some ring mechanics, and I did fine. I didn't do great with it, but it's fine. It's an okay ability. It's an okay emblem. I think if you're ranking emblems, maybe that would be a fun thing to do on the channel sometime. If you're ranking emblems, initiative is up there, monarch is up there. There are other ones that you'd go to before I would talk about the ring. It's fine. Its suite of abilities is fine. I'm going to say most people have forgotten what the ring does and won't be able to tell you. Maybe they'll know the first one because that's the first one that will show up and the one they've probably seen the most. But it is a strictly better Raised Dead. You got to give it that. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot of synergy for the ring tempting you in Pauper. They're most of the cards that care about the ring tempting you and will get additional value out of it outside of just what the ring emblem does for you. Most of those cards are going to be higher rarities. I'm thinking about like the Nazgul and those are all uncommon. Well, the one card that's 9 versions of it are all uncommon. And that they get a +1/+1 counter every time the ring tempts you. So they get extra value off of that. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of extra value when it comes to the Pauper format, and we don't have enough of these cards anyway. Maybe we'll get more when the Hobbit set comes out, which is the next set up. Yeah? Is it the next one, or is it before or after Reality Fracture? I think it's before. So we'll see what other ring tempting mechanics we get. I kind of doubt that it's going to make a big dent in Pauper any more than it already has. And I would say it's not really made that much of a dent in Pauper. But a strictly better Raised Dead is still a fine card. And even if this was the only card that you had in your deck that had any sort of ring tempting you stuff on it, the Skulk ability is okay. It's okay. Also, it does make your creature legendary. That is important. When you make one of your creatures legendary by making it your ring bearer, it can't be cast down anymore. Cast down is a very popular thing. Now, we've also been getting more legendary creatures as we go on at common with things like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set and the Spider-Man set, and now Marvel has some of those characters as well. And we're going to see more and more of those as we go on. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, I would say unfortunately. But this is another way of making one of your creatures legendary. Imagine having a legendary Tolarian Terror that they can't use cast down on. Could be kind of cool. but it is just a raised dead at the end of the day, and we've spent a lot of time talking about it. Let's go with a 2.8. All that bluster for a 2.8. Well, maybe our next card will be better once it pops up on screen. Should be any second now. Come on. You don't get to see it, but I see the little spinning circle. It's coming. It's coming. There we go. Surikar Marauder is 1 and a black for a 2/1 Surikar, and it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature gains Intimidate until end of turn, which means it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or creatures that share a color with it. So in this case, black. So it would just kind of be Fear at that point. Originally, we had Fear, and then Fear only worked on was only black creatures or artifact creatures, and then they shifted it to Intimidate, which other colors could get. Green had a lot of Intimidate creatures, but now they've kind of phased out both, and they go, this wasn't really all that fun. A 2-mana 2/1 that sometimes has evasion. Is that good? I don't think that's very good. It's a cool card. I like the art. This is not a very common creature type, so that's fun. But I think this is kind of a lame creature with a lame ability. I don't like a 2-mana 2/1 to begin with, and it getting evasion sometimes doesn't make me feel good either. I think I'm actually going to give it its power and toughness and say this is a 2.1. It probably deserves a little bit more, but I'm not feeling very generous about that. Let's talk about Bog Witch, originally from Mercadian Masks. 2 and a black for a 1/1 human spell shaper. You can pay a black, tap, and discard a card to add triple black. You can discard cards to do Dark Ritual. That's awesome. It's not actually that good. It's really easy for a creature to be blown up in a way that a Dark Ritual is a lot harder to stop. But this is repeatable, and it does allow you to discard cards. There could be some kind of madness angle in here. Now, I think because it's a cost. I think the way this works is because of where the colon is, because this is all the cost. It's a black mana tapping this creature and discarding a card colon. So all of that is what you pay. And when you do that, when you're paying that, the ability hasn't happened yet. You haven't gained the 3 black mana yet. So then you would discard a card. Let's say it was what's a Black Madness card off the top of my head? Kitchen Imp. There you go. Let's say it's a Kitchen Imp. And the thing is, when madness happens, when madness triggers, you either have to have the mana and spend it right then at instant speed, or it goes into your graveyard and you can't get it back out. So you don't have the mana yet before you get the before the ability triggers on the madness card, which does make this a little bit worse. It makes it worse for madness decks. Because if you could just kind of make free madness cards, that would be awesome. But that's not exactly the way it works. It's still, hey, any useless card in your hand, this land in your hand that you don't want because it's later in the game, and maybe you want more specific black mana, or maybe you need to color fix, and you can discard the island in your hand to get more of the black mana that you need. That's cool. It's cool that you can turn 1 mana in a card into 3 mana. That's really good. You can do that every single turn, every one of your turns. A 1 mana or a 1 toughness creature is pretty easy to take off the board. Creatures in general are pretty easy to take off the board. This is fine, but I think you're probably investing a little bit too much into it to pay 3 mana to get it on the board in the first place, and then having to wait to be able to use this ability. If your opponent is able to take this thing out before you start doing the Dark Rituals each turn, you're gonna feel bad. So it's not as good as Dark Ritual, but it's kind of cool. It is kind of cool. I'm gonna give it a kind of cool score, and I'm gonna give it a 2.6. That's kind of cool. It's not that cool, but it's kind of cool. Brilliant Halo is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+2. And when this aura is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you return it to its owner's hand. From Urza Saga, which makes sense. This is in the same cycle as things like Rancor. And, there was a blue card we just saw that gave something flying. And then when it went to the graveyard, you got it back. Same type of deal. This is a Holy Strength, though. Holy Strength gives a creature +1/+2, but it only costs a single white. So you're paying twice as much for a Holy Strength, but you get it back if the creature dies or if somebody destroys this aura, and then it comes back to your hand. So you can play it again. That's fine. I like the Urza Saga. I like the idea of these Urza Saga auras that want to be a little bit more repeatable, that have a little bit more staying power in a similar kind of equipment sense. Not exactly like an equipment, but it tries to not just let you get blown out when you lose the creature with all the auras on it. This is not a good enough aura to make that work, though. A Holy Strength is not a particularly great card to begin with, and paying an extra mana for it and sometimes getting it back to your hand is really just a waste of your time and your mana. You shouldn't be playing this. Rancor is good. Rancor might be the only good one in that cycle. I think we can go for a. I'll give it a 2 and be generous, but I think it probably deserves to be down in the 1 somewhere. This is not quite good. Death Rattle. This is a cool card. 5 and a black for an instant with Delve. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting this spell pays for a single generic mana. And it says destroy target non-green creature. It can't be regenerated. So this can be a 1 mana kill spell as long as it hits a non-green card. That's easy enough to do. It's in Future Sight. You can get the Future Sight frame on it. Oh, look at that Future Sight frame. So nice. This doesn't actually see a ton of play, which seems weird because Delve cards are pretty darn good. We've seen other Delve cards that are so broken they aren't in the format. Treasure Cruise. Treasure Cruise is Treasure Cruise is banned in Pauper. This is too good. Even though it has an 8 mana cost here, you can Delve it, and if you can get rid of all the cards in your graveyard to draw 3 more cards, it's just an Ancestral Recall there. Banned in Pauper, banned in other formats. This is a busted card. But Death Rattle, a little less busted. You are just getting 1 creature removal spell out of the deal, not 3 cards. So it's a little bit more acceptable. The other Delve card that you see, well, the Delve card that sees the most play in Pauper, and I've talked about it many times on the channel, is Gurmag Angler, a 5/5 creature, just a big chunky 5/5 creature that can only cost you 1 if you delve away all the cards to get it. This is a good card. It's just something that can come on the table pretty early if you can mill yourself out enough to allow yourself to throw this down pretty cheaply, and then you got a nice big 5/5 that's going to attack and block very effectively. So there are some Delve cards that have shown up in the format or have dominated enough where they needed to be taken out of the format. But Death Rattle kind of is in this no man's land of being good but not being good enough. It's okay. I think it probably is a card that you gotta always keep tabs on, that if there are cards that matter that they leave your graveyard. We just got the Secrets of Strixhaven set recently, and that has a lot of cards leaving your graveyard. We have a lot of effects at higher rarities, but even some at lower rarities, that when a creature card leaves your graveyard, something happens. So it's something to consider, that if you find the right cards, Death Rattle is a good removal spell that also can potentially further other game plans. Is it a great card right now? Probably not. It's a good card, but it's probably not a great card. I'm going to give this thing a 3.5. Yeah. Not a bad score. I could totally see it being bumped up into the 4, maybe even 5 range if we get the right cards to play around it. Right now, I just don't think we have those cards. Grounded for Life is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles card. It's 4 and a white for an instant. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature. Destroy target creature. We've talked about these before. This is fine, but we have a better one. Ride's End is the card that you got to beat right now, because it exiles a creature or a vehicle, which can be relevant, but it's the same cost. It's the same cost reduction, but the exile effect is just better than the destroy, and being able to hit vehicles is also relevant. This is not. It's just not relevant. It's fine. It's fine. It's a good limited piece if you got it in limited, but it's outside of that, it's not particularly good. It's fine. Fine card, 2.5, but Ride's End would get a much higher score if we got to Ride's End, because that matters more. Hits more things, and exiling is just generally better. Let's do a bonus card. It's Revive. I do love Revive, originally from Mercadian Mass, another Mercadian Mass card. But I think I have an 8th edition copy of it. I might have gone and bought a Mercadian Mass copy too, but Revive is 1 and a green for a sorcery. Return target green card from your graveyard to your hand. Any green card. Could be an instant, could be permanent. Can't be a land. Those are colorless, but any green card. That's nice. That is in some ways better than like a, what am I trying to think of? Like a Malevolent Rumble that grabs permanents back. Yeah, Malevolent Rumble's good, but this guy can grab instants and grab that Malevolent Rumble back so you can do it again. Revive is cool. Sorcery speed hurts it a little bit. We've seen, what's the card I'm thinking of? It's a single green mana for an instant, and it puts a card on top of your library from your graveyard. It also starts with R. It's not originally from Magic Origins, but it also is in Magic Origins. We can find this pretty easily, right? Green instant. Legal in Pauper. Mana value is 1. And sure, we can say Magic Origins just to make sure we get the right one. Reclaim. There you go. Reclaim. Reclaim gets any card at instant speed. It does put it on top of your library, though, so it is, in that way, it's worse than Revive, because Revive at least puts it in your hand, and then the next card you draw isn't going to tempo you out. But Reclaim can be really good. I really like Reclaim. Revive, I like a little bit less. I do like the art, though, and there is something to be said about it. It's useful. It is useful. Grabbing a green card back from your graveyard to your hand is a solid ability. I think 2 mana is maybe a little expensive for it, but you'd probably play it. You'd probably play it. But I don't know what deck it would go into. It is just kind of an opportunity cost thing at that point. You probably get enough good cards that you need from just the permanents from Malevolent Rumble, or from, even the dredge cards like the Town Greeter that mills 4, and then you can grab a land back. Those aren't exactly the same thing. We don't have Eternal Witness in the format or something, so this is closer to what you're going to get out of that. But it's a little slow, both in its mana cost and its sorcery speed, and a little bit narrow with only being able to target green cards. I like it though. I do. Maybe it's nostalgia that's pushing this for me, but I'm gonna give this thing a 3. Yeah, I think I'm happy giving it a 3. But decent card. That was episode 190. We will see you on 191 the next time we do one of these. Until then, I'll see you.